Hello, welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tea and Chat, your weekly dose of spiritual growth and transformation. This is a place where we explore your natural spiritual abilities and empower empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive folks to transform your sensitivity into strength. Each week, I'm going to explore a different spiritual topic. So we'll discuss different aspects using different tools from the clairvoyant training, insights, and guidance to help you thrive on your spiritual journey. My name's 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝗏. I'm a clairvoyant teacher and a spiritual guide. And this week we are going to talk about, are you having spiritual growing pains? What's a spiritual growing pain? Well, let me just list a couple things, and then we'll unpack it. Have you noticed you're aware of other people's emotions and where other people are more keenly lately? Are you aware of picking up maybe extra thoughts around you? Are you feeling discontent in a space where you used to love being, and now you feel like, this is not my place anymore. This feels weird. Are you feeling a little unmotivated? Are you somebody that's seeking purpose? Are you wondering where your mojo, your lack of will and gumption and all of this has gone? Oh, here's one. Are you tuning in to extra spiritual energies where maybe you're hearing guidance from spirit? Are you maybe having physical symptoms? Some people have extra fatigue or a little bit of dizziness. I know you're wondering, oh, do I need to slap an ADHD diagnosis here and go that route? Well, you might, I don't know. But I want you to consider that these kind of symptoms are quite normal and natural for people waking up to the higher levels of awareness. And so with that as the case, then you would need to tune in on those higher levels to be able to solve it. So not just the emotional, not just the physical levels. Hello in the chat, Rosie, I'm glad you're here. Danny Miguel, great to see you guys. If you're new to the channel, use the live chat if you have spiritually oriented questions, and you might just get a little mini read with it. If you don't want a mini read, just put that in the chat here. Rosie says, lots of dizzy and new food sensitivity. Yeah, we're going to unpack it all, but I want to also offer some practical steps for you to guide through this. So let me offer some guidance and help you walk through this. Leonora, hola from Spain. Nice to see you. Great. So let's look at this. So what's a growth period? And I'm talking about spiritual growing pains. It's quite natural to go through this spiritually. You think about it like children growing up, and you have teething, your child is going through teething, and you want to support them, hold them, and you give them some medicine for teething. Maybe you do homeopathy, maybe you do something for the pain management, but they're going to get through it, right? They might be screaming like crazy for a while because it's uncomfortable. Keep this in mind. It's uncomfortable, but you get through it, right? Our environment goes through growing pains too. There's fires ravaging Southern California right now. And with the fires, all that green grass and trees and everything, that's got to all regrow, but also the dirt. The ground itself gets kind of caramelized, scorched. So like when the rains come in, it's just going to slide right off of there. So the earth goes through growth spurts. We have a volcano going off. We have earthquakes going off. So that's all happening. You'll see it with your pets too. They might go through growing spurts. Oh, like when your pets go into heat. Oh, look out. Are you going to put them away in a closet somewhere while they go through that? Maybe, but you have to support them and go through it. And this is the same kind of approach for you as a soul in going through these spiritual shifts. Let's look at one of the biggest ones that comes up for people, being overwhelmed by other people's energy. Of course, this is one of the big things that I talk about on this channel is when you're picking up the energies, the emotions of the room. Some of you might be more keenly tuned into the thoughts in the room, like you walk in a room and you go, this group is really tuned in that they believe they have this belief and my belief's different. I think I'm going to be uncomfortable here. You might start picking that up. The emotions is a little easier to tell in one way, in that if you're in a room sitting next to your best friend and maybe they just went through a really hard breakup and you're feeling the sadness, loneliness, or whatever. Notice I said if you are feeling that sadness and loneliness, they might be, their life circumstances have got them to that place where they're going through that. And your energy might be matching that sadness and loneliness. And at first you go, oh, I know you're sad and lonely, friend, because I can really feel that and I know where you're at. Well, what if then they leave, they go home, they're feeling a little better after having talked to you. And then later in the day, you're like, oh man, I'm so sad and lonely. What do? I need to solve my sadness and loneliness. Let me go sign up for a sadness and loneliness workshop. Thing about that is it's not addressing where the problem started, which was a matching frequency. And this is a big part of our spiritual growing pains. This one of feeling other people's energy is big. Anybody in the chat know what I'm talking about? Renan just showed up. Did I miss much? Oh, I already gave the secret to the universe. Sorry, missed it. I'm just kidding. First time. Thanks for being here. Yeah, and those of you the first time, if you use the chat, if you have a question about spirituality or spiritual awakening, ask in the chat and you just might get a little mini read. Lenora says energy transference. Yes, we call it energy transference in a way that the example of talking to a friend that's going through worry, or the friend's just been through a breakup and you start feeling that energy too. Slight shift that I want to stay away from any kind of language around absorbing, because you think about that person sitting down and your friends there, you don't sit down and go, I want your pain. I want your emotional pain. We don't sit down and want the emotional pain. But there's a matching frequency, and it's more like a dolphin pinging out, like radar. Think of it like radar. But then it's still registering in our space if we haven't known how to let go of it. That's a big part of this training, and I'll give some tips at the end on that. Rosie says, definitely aware of people's mood. For sure. Miguel says, I feel like I don't know what I want to do or feel. Yeah. We're going to talk about that purpose also. Let me just kind of hit some other options, some other parts of this spiritual transformation, spiritual growing pains that we're going through. Another one a lot of people are going to hit is dietary changes. All of a sudden, I can't eat or drink like I used to. Things that used to bring me joy. I was reading somebody's online the other day, and they said, man, it was this guy. I was a big meat eater, working out and doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm eating the food and I'm aware of the consciousness of it or something. And it just started repelling me. That's not for everybody. And, everything has consciousness. A head of lettuce has consciousness too. So this person was saying all of a sudden, he's been on a spiritual path and his own awakening journey, and all of a sudden realized meat doesn't serve me that way. And this is not to say if you're on a spiritual journey, you have to stop meat. I eat chicken and fish. It's fine. And maybe we're all headed towards being more vegan and all that, but it might just be like 1,000 years down the road or something. You have to eat what's right for you. But I have had to modulate my food a lot over the last 30 years while I've been in this spiritual transformation. I started by letting go of, well, like beer and alcohol and stuff. That did not serve me because it also kicked me out of the body instead of being in the body. I was playing in rock clubs as a drummer for years, and some of the times we get paid in beer. So it's right there. Um, so I realized that that was the first thing to go. And then for me, I had to quit. This is just me. I had to let go of red meat because I was having all of these digestive problems. It's like I couldn't eat anything. The way I grew up eating was had to change. And what it was essentially is my frequency, my energy is changing. It's shifting. It's changing like tuning a car or tuning a guitar. It's getting a little bit more tuned up. And wheat was a really hard one for me. The hardest one for me now is sugar. It might as well be poison for me. But this is not a directive for anyone here. I'm sharing my story about where my sensitivities are, and I would say look into it for yourself. Back then, I started doing different cleanses, and one was what do they call it? Elimination cleanse. So, like over a two week period, take out take out sugar and junk first, the first day, and then take out maybe dairy, and then maybe take out meat, and you whittle it down till you're having just fruit and vegetables, and maybe one day of water, although I wouldn't do that now. That doesn't work for me. I have to balance blood sugar. And then add back fruit, and you'll see as you're adding fruit back in if your body likes this or that, and then add vegetables in, then add grains back in, and you'll see which grains work or don't work. And then, you can add meat or stuff. The sugar, man, that just does not work for me. It goes right to a migraine. It just might as well be poison. So heads up on a physical level for dietary changes. This is a big red flag. You just might be in a big spiritual growth cycle. Let's see what we got here. Rosie, definitely aware of people's moods. Yep, for sure. Renan, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, you've been working on meditations and attempting to astral project. Just a knowledge seeker, unsure where I'm at in life. Ah, you should come get a reading. I would be aware of the astral projection too. It's fun, but sometimes what happens is that if you're just leaving the body with your astral, you're just leaving in your astral body. So physical body stays here, etheric body stays here, and you step out in your astral body. The lower mental and the spiritual space is there. But you just step out in that, you're seen when you're up there cruising around. There's some things to watch out for, and don't bring home any hitchhikers on your way back. That can be a problem. If you're doing a lot of astral projection, you are seen, and hitchhikers, watch out. So be aware of that. Miguel stopped drinking 3 years ago. Yeah. When I put the beer and wine aside, it was like I started meditating immediately and really tuning in to those levels that I knew were there, but there was, it was like a curtain between me and them. And that helped lift the curtain. As soon as I did that, I started seeing auras like behind trees. Trees had a glow, and started communicating with trees and rocks. And it was a while before I was interested in trying to read people. I thought, I'm just doing my own little spiritual growth. I got my little thing here. I got my tea, and I'm just going to be over here having my own little growth. But after you learn, then you share. It's natural. What else we got here? Renan, oh, sugar. Yes, soda pop. That was a hard one. I grew up in the South with Mountain Dew. Woohoo! I don't know if they put something in there. Like, whew, that was a hard one to crack. but I'm a tea lover now. I love this tea because it's got its own little lid to keep it warm, and it's got the little thing I can put loose leaf tea in there, which I really like, which also is medicinal. Lenora, feeling slower, almost like my metabolism is slower. My digestion seems lower. Yeah, you know what's interesting, Lenora, if I can give you a little mini read, is that your energy's really ramped up, but your body's too far away from it. So we have like we can look at the growth or like what grade the body is in, like if it's in school in one grade, and then what grade is spirit in, and they need to be close enough to really be in harmony and vibrance that they kind of move up together so that they're not, it's very rare they're right together. So you're still a little too far apart. So that is showing me that you're growing really, you're expanding your awareness on that higher spirit level, but your body's not able to keep up. There's too much difference in there. So taking steps to bring your body up closer to where you are as spirit, if they're more than like 2 grades apart, this is where it gets problematic, and you're like 3.5 grades apart. And so then it's going to always feel like, oh, I'm behind. I'm the kid that didn't get called on for sports, or I'll never get there. Make some body changes to get your body up. Spirit space is already there. Let's see. Renan says, my closest attempt yet was met with sleep paralysis and a hag. I knew they were immediately and controlled my fear, but I messed up and lashed out at the being and woke up. Yeah, part of the path. You own your space. You own the house that you're in. If you get some hitchhikers or some beings there that don't belong, you have the power to keep them out. Keep in mind, you got it together enough to get a body. As spirit, like you're in line, you got a body, like you win already. These other spirits don't have bodies. And if they're the kind of beings that are coming around giving you a hard time, they're not very high level beings. Angels, masters, guides, they stand back and they wait for you to raise your vibration closer to them. Yeah. Somebody says, I want to switch to tea and water. Yeah, I wanted that for a long time. It took a while. Man, soda was a hard one to kick growing up in the South because you have it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we'll get there. Drinking fresh juice. Yeah, I like fresh juice. Let's look some other parts. So the environment, this goes right in with the physical part, and then we'll get into emotions and mental and then some practical steps. So the environment, you might also find that you're becoming more sensitive to chemicals. If you had certain products around the house, cleaning products, most of it's just full of chemicals, right? And people put some kind of perfume stuff in everything. I was working with somebody in a reading the other day, and I could see that they're on a path also of growing and expanding, and they don't know what to call it. They don't know what's going on. They're like, just my body is kind of shutting down, and I don't quite know how to navigate this time. And in looking at the person's energy, I said, well, it's like a sponge that's full and you can't mop up anymore. And so the body is needing to probably do some kind of light cleanse, or even just updating what food they're taking in. But I could see for this person also, it was really important that it looked like something, their smells, they were really, the person didn't realize it, but was very sensitive to smells. And I said, well, what about air freshener? And they said, oh, yeah, I have been doing this air freshener. I said, well, take a look at the ingredients in there and see if you can't find a more natural one to do that. They totally make them. I bet your town has a co-op in it. Just go in and shift out the chemical stuff for the natural stuff. So that was something I had to do along the way too. And I tell you, especially is like washing your clothes, that perfume filled Tide and all that stuff. If I'm at somebody else's house and they have that, oh man, the smell is going to be right here, that perfume. My face breaks out and it gets all red and rashy. I started traveling with those little sheets that are no smell You can buy them online, or you buy them in a co-op or Whole Foods, Trader Joe's or something for washing clothes. So if I'm traveling or something, I take a couple of those with me, especially if I'm at an Airbnb or something. They're going to buy the cheapest thing around, which is going to be full of chemicals. So I put that in there. Let's look at some other stuff. Let's look at um, let's look at the spiritual stuff. I mean, let me just list a couple here. Like mental stuff, you might feel, start questioning my own beliefs and values. I grew up always thinking this was the way the world works, and I always grew up thinking this is the way other people act and react, and this is how I am. And it's like we're trained to be certain ways and just like fit the peg in the little uh, um, outlet, and then you start realizing I'm starting to question things that I've just taken for granted. You have to know also that there's a bigger pattern of that, of like truth emerging right now at this time in history. Maybe it's astrology, numerology, I don't know that stuff, but I just look at energy and I can see that truth is naturally coming out. So those of you that are, well, everybody here that's more sensitive to energy, you're going to be on the front end of that. So you start questioning things, and you question maybe your own values. I grew up in my town thinking this about that group of people, but now I'm going, you know, I like that, or I can let them be the way they are. Let's look at, increased synchronicities. So, one of the first things people start seeing, oh, the clock's at 3:33 or the clock's at 2:22, and all of a sudden I look at it. Synchronicities, yeah, starting to connect the dots. Here's a dot over here, connect it. Here's a dot over here, connect it. They can mean different things for you. I started seeing 333 when I first started my spiritual awakening. I would wake up every morning, 3:33, and I'm like, cool, cool, cool. Like for the first couple days, I'm like, hey, I'm paying attention. I get it. I get it. And after a while, it's like, oh, good God, just let me sleep. So again, like teething, you're going to get through this. Oh, Danny says 222 for your birthday. Yes. I think about the twos as being connected to love, and that has to do with a different, not so much the clairvoyant training, but a different training of these energies that come into the planet. And the second one, it's the second ray, is about love, love and wisdom. And so when I see twos and 222s, I see that connection to love and wisdom. Yeah, happy birthday, Danny. Ren says, family was Catholic. I've always just been myself. Lots of experience in life left me questioning more. Sometimes that, if I might just offer, even if you're like the youngest one in the family and you think, I'm going to run to the litter or whatever, you might be the healer in the group. There's a lot of times where you think, wow, how did I incarnate into this crazy farm? Maybe you're the one there not to endure it, but to bring something, to bring light or joy or some stability to others. Miguel, you've been in here before. I haven't offered you a reading. Miguel, you have these blue greens around you that have we haven't asked a question, but I'm just gonna I'm just gonna jump in. You have these blues and greens around you, and it's like transformational energy. There's a tech aspect to it too that might be the physical way you bring this blue-green transformational energy, like using tech to transform something. And you have a keen aspect in the mind space. So if you're using tech to transform things, that would help people shift their awareness, their mind from thinking, oh, this is what we do, I believe this, to, oh, here's a better way of doing things. It's a calmer, more relaxed, and it stays in alignment with nature. You would probably want to be in alignment with nature as well. So again, if you're new, write a comment. You might get a little mini read. Got some hearts going up. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to offer some pro tips here to keep you going. If you're new to the channel, please like and share, comment. It helps this get out to where it would help other people, helps the algorithm and all that. If you haven't joined my mailing list, Danny's in there helping me, and there'll be links to juliaharrell.com. Be sure and get on the mailing list. Love to see you come in for a reading, get some real good one-on-one communication, and I'll let you know about coupons and classes coming up. So we've talked about a lot of stuff, energetic shifts. Some of you might even be having nightmares as part of this. Some of you might feel a little more called to nature. You might just be all of a sudden like, you guys can't keep dumping stuff in the ocean. And you're like, why am I so passionate and they're not? Why don't they care? That might be part of your journey, part of your path, and part of your proclivity to communicating spirit to spirit with nature. Like that might be part of your purpose. Many of you are going to be looking at, what is my purpose? There's got to be more than going to this job and just I go to my job, I go home, put on Netflix, and I go to bed. And then I get up and I have a Starbucks and I go to my job and I go home and watch Netflix and go to bed. And then I do stuff on the weekends. And you start going, oh, there's got to be more. Like, what's the connection here? It's like peering over the cubicle at work and going, what else is out there in the world? That's going to be natural. Miguel says, thank you. Yes, I love nature. Yeah, it's more than loving nature, Miguel. You see that it's when you look at nature, you see how this plant connects with that kind of tree, and that kind of moss connects with that kind of outcropping. Connections. This kind of bush works well with this plant next to it or whatever, how they communicate, how they exist together. And you can bring that into working with humanity in different ways too. Fun fact, by the way, if you're wondering, do trees and plants communicate? Absolutely. Those of you tuned in to the plant kingdom, you might listen and they'll sing. You'll hear them singing. Another thing I noticed recently, I just moved to Oregon, and I'd been living in California for a long time. And when I first moved in, there were these oak trees just outside and my house. And I talked to them and I said, hey, I'm your new neighbor here, custodian, and we'll be communicating. I went for a walk across town, miles away, like 15-minute drive away, and I'm up in the hills and there's oak trees again. And I'm just walking. I said, hi, everybody. And I heard, hi, Julia. I'm like, how do you know me? I talked to those trees miles ago. And they said, oh, yeah, we all communicate. And it's not the root system. Like we all communicate. And I found the same thing here. I was out for a hike in Oregon, which is like swampland right now. And I said hello to the trees, and they said, hi, Julia. I said, how can you possibly know me? I was in California. And they're like, we all communicate. So it must be some frequency that they all communicate on. So try it, and I'd love to hear from you. I need to get you some positive points here. All right. Anything else in the comments? Rosie, it's always good to see you, Mama Bear. You know, you have that energy of bringing people together through that big heart space. Okay, let me offer some practical steps. First thing I would say is the reminder that this is a temporary time period, just like a baby that's going through teething. You will get through it. Embrace it. Don't run and hide. So if the tendency is, this is uncomfortable, I'm aware of people's stuff, or my body is breaking down, like what's wrong with me? Hang in there. It's temporary. Don't run and hide. If you want to maybe pull the covers up and just go in a cave and meditate for a while until it's over, that just puts your growth on pause and it doesn't help anyone else. You're going to get through this, like the teething. Here's something that you may feel like, well, I don't have it to give, but is there a way you can bring lightness and joy into the day of someone else? And you might think, well, I feel pretty crappy right now. I got nothing here. You might be surprised. Offering some kind of kindness or joy to somebody else, and then you feel that kindness and joy back. It's a great way to boost your own energy and frequency more towards happiness and joy. A third thing I would say is start your day tuning into spirit. Say hello, spirit. Like I said, hello to the trees. Say hello, spirit. Please guide me in my thoughts and actions. What you're doing is putting the ego body personality aside. And what you're doing is telling the higher self to be in the driver's seat. So start your day with a hello and end your day with a thank you. Thank you for guiding me throughout the day. So again, you're talking to that higher self. It's not out in space somewhere. It's right here. We're bringing it in right here, right now. That's what this training does, the clairvoyant training. It puts the higher self in the driver's seat and the body personality to the side. And the body personality is going to grumble. It's going to say, no, 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 I want to be in charge. Go buy me sugar sweets and booze and whatever. That's the desire nature. That's not your higher self. And it's going to act out as you're shifting gears here. That's the bigger story of what's going on, is you're shifting gears from the body, from being the body persona in the world to being the higher self. I would say also number 4, be grounded throughout the day. Somebody's talking about astral projection. A keynote of that is you leave the body. So, if you do that, go have fun. Make sure you really get grounded and bring all of you in and kick out any hitchhikers that might have followed you home. Stay grounded throughout your day. And the biggest thing, if you can, is keep in mind that you might be going through this before your friends are. So you go, oh, I used to have fun going to clubs with my friends and stuff. Am I just old? I'm 32. What's wrong? I'm not 32, by the way. But you might be feeling that and going, gosh, is this what old age is? No, this is growth and awakening. Bear in mind, you might be hitting this change first. Just like in adolescence, some kids bloom before others. If that's the case, number 5, be the lighthouse for others. So even if you're feeling crappy, know that this is a natural stage of development we're all going through, and you want to be that lighthouse for others. So thanks everybody for being here. It's great to have you. Danny says, Julia's the real deal. Thank you and happy birthday to you. Thanks, guys, for being here. We do this every Friday, and if you find this helpful, please let me know in the comments. If you have questions that you want me to explore, put them in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and I answer all those myself. Be sure to join the website and be on my mailing list so you'll hear about upcoming events and maybe see some of you in readings here coming up. So thanks so much. We'll see you next time.